Every empire has a bottom floor, a place where the rules aren't written down because the people there don't need them written. They already know. They grew up knowing. The street taught them before anyone else could. What you're about to enter is not a story about villains. It's not a warning. It's not a celebration. It's a map. A map of what happens when a system is more powerful than the people inside it. When ambition is the only currency that matters, and the price of spending it is paid in pieces of yourself you don't get back under 8 levels, 8 versions of the same person, shaped differently by the same machine. At the bottom, you have nothing and believe you're gaining everything. At the top, you have everything and know you've lost what mattered. The distance between those two, truths, is measured in years, in bodies, in decisions made in dark rooms that can never be unmade. You're about to walk that distance. All of it. From the corner to the compound. From the runner to the ghost. Pay attention to what changes. Pay closer attention to what doesn't. It starts now. Level 1. The recruit. The car stops in front of your house at 11 p.m. on a Tuesday. You know the guy driving. Grew up 3 streets over. He's got new shoes and a chain you couldn't afford in 3 months of honest work. He doesn't ask if you want in. He tells you there's work. You already know what kind. You're 17, maybe 18. The neighborhood you grew up in doesn't offer many doors, and this one is open. Your first job is simple. You stand on a corner for 6 hours. You watch. If a car circles the block twice, you send a text. 1 word. Agala. That's it. You don't touch product. You don't carry a weapon. You are a set of eyes with a phone, and you get paid $200 for the night. You tell yourself it's temporary. You go home, sleep fine. The $200 is real. The risk feels abstract. What you don't know yet is that there's a man 3 levels above you who doesn't know your name and never will, and your life is already worth less to him than the corner you're standing on. You come back the next night, and the night after that. The temporary becomes routine. The routine becomes identity. Level 2, the soldier. 3 months in, they give you a package to move, not drugs, not yet. A bag. You don't look inside. You take it 6 blocks north and hand it to a man outside a laundromat. He gives you an envelope. You bring the envelope back. You never open it. You clear $900 that week. At level 2, you are a body. Useful, replaceable, and still being evaluated. You carry things. You follow people. You stand outside buildings at 2 a.m. in the cold and you wait. You learn who the local plaza boss is, though you've never spoken to him. You learn which streets belong to this organization and which belong to someone else. And you understand without being told that crossing those lines has consequences nobody will explain in advance. You get your first weapon 2 months later. A 9mm, wrapped in a cloth inside a shoebox. You're told to keep it close. You're told not to use it unless you're told to. The weight of it changes something. You start paying attention differently. You notice exits. You notice faces. You notice who's watching. This isn't paranoia yet. It's training. Your brain is rewiring itself for a specific environment, and it's doing it without your permission. You haven't hurt anyone. You tell yourself that still matters. It does. For now. Level 3, the confirmed. There's a moment, and every person in this world has one, where the line gets crossed. You don't always choose it. Sometimes it chooses you. A man owes money. You're told to go with 2 others to collect. You're not there to talk. You understand this before you arrive. The man is in his 40s. He begs. What happens next is fast and ugly, and afterward you stand outside and smoke a cigarette and your hands are completely steady, and that steadiness frightens you more than anything that just happened. You report back. No one asks how you feel. At level 3, you are confirmed. You have done the thing that makes you bound to the organization in a way you cannot undo. This is the point. The act is leverage. They own something now. The men above you know you're capable, and more importantly, they know you're compromised. You start carrying more product. Grams become ounces. Ounces become kilos. You learn the streets, the schedules, the code words. You're managing 2 runners beneath you now. Kids like you were 8 months ago standing on corners with phones. You earn $3,000 a week, sometimes more. You move out of your mother's house. You tell her you're doing logistics work. She doesn't. Ask questions. You've learned that the people who survive in this world don't ask questions either. Level 4, the operator. You have a territory now, 12 square blocks, 3 corners, 7 people underneath you. You don't think of yourself as a boss yet, but functionally, you are one. You solve problems. When a runner steals from the count, you handle it. When a corner gets hit by a rival, you report up and wait for instruction. When instruction doesn't come fast enough, you make a decision and report it after. You're 22. You clear $40,000 in a week during a good run, and none of it touches your name. The cash moves through 3 different hands before it gets cleaned. You don't know exactly how. That's someone else's job. At level 4, you understand the architecture of the organization without seeing the whole structure. You know the plaza boss. You've shaken his hand. You know one step above him is a regional coordinator, but you've never seen that person's face. You know names that are spoken quietly. You know which federal officials are on payroll and which aren't. Not from anyone telling you directly, but from watching which problems disappear and which ones don't. You've stopped losing sleep over things. That's not strength. That's erosion. You have a girlfriend. She knows enough not to ask. You have friends outside this world, fewer now than before. When you sit with them, you feel the distance. You speak different languages now. You've seen things they haven't. You've done things. The person you were at 17 exists in photographs. You don't miss him exactly. You just don't recognize him anymore. Level 5, the enforcer. The plaza boss calls you directly now. That means something. Your job at level 5 is maintaining order, not just on your blocks, across the whole plaza. When someone skims, when loyalty wavers, when a rival organization probes at the edges, you are the response. You travel, you bring men with you, you solve problems in ways that leave no questions. You are feared before you arrive. People have heard your name. That's new. The first time you walk into a room and feel it, the stillness, the way eyes drop. It feels like power. It is power. But it's also a cage you don't see yet. At level 5, violence is administrative. It's not emotional. You don't hate the men you're sent to deal with. You don't know them. They are problems with names. You handle them the way someone else might handle a spreadsheet discrepancy, efficiently, completely, without residue, except residue accumulates anyway. You don't notice because it happens slowly. You're earning $120,000 a month. You have a house in a gated community 40 miles from your original neighborhood. You have a second phone, a third car, a name that strangers use carefully. Your loyalty to the plaza boss is real. He brought you up. He trusted you when others didn't. But you're starting to understand that loyalty in this world has an expiration date, and no one tells you when it expires. You start watching him more carefully. Not because you're planning anything, just because you've learned how this works. Level 6, the plaza boss. You didn't take the position. It was handed to you after the previous man made a mistake. You don't think about what happened to him. You move forward. At level 6, you govern. The word sounds too clean, but that's what it is. You control a geographic territory the size of a mid-sized city. Every gram that moves through it earns you a cut. Every business that operates under your protection pays. Every official who stays cooperative gets their envelope. Everyone who doesn't gets a visit. You have 43 men who answer to you directly. Hundreds more in supporting roles. You make decisions that affect thousands of people and never meet most of them. The regional coordinator above you calls twice a month. The calls are short. Numbers, status, requests. You don't call him. He calls you. That distinction matters more than it sounds. Your biggest enemy isn't the rival organization across the border or the federal task force whose existence you've known about for 8 months. Your biggest enemy is the men directly below you. Not because they're disloyal, most aren't. Because ambition is structural. You understand this because you were them. You trust 3 people completely, maybe 2. You have a family, children. They don't know what their father is, not exactly. They know you are powerful, that the house is large, that things are provided. Your oldest is 11. Sometimes you watch him and think about what you want for him, and the thought doesn't complete itself cleanly. You don't sleep well. You sleep, but not well. You've been at level 6 for 2 years. The only ways out are retirement to a country with no extradition agreement, prison, or the other thing. You don't plan to end up in the second or third category. Planning and outcome are different things. Level 7, the regional. Almost no one knows your face. That's intentional. At level 7, your name is spoken in boardrooms and federal briefings and cartel councils. But the photograph they have of you is 4 years old and taken from 300 meters. You've changed your appearance twice. You have 4 identities across 3 countries. You oversee 6 plazas. The plaza bosses call you. You don't call them. Your decisions are made with financial data, not personal presence. A plaza underperforms. You adjust the leadership. A corridor gets compromised. You reroute. A government contact flips. You manage the fallout. You are not a soldier anymore. You haven't been in the field in years. You are a logistics architect. The money at level 7 is difficult to describe in terms that feel real. You move $800 million through legitimate businesses in a single fiscal year. You own stakes in construction companies, agricultural exports, transport fleets, real estate across 4 countries. None of it traces to your real name. What you've lost is harder to quantify. You live in a compound. You have for 3 years. Not because you're hiding, you move freely when needed. Because it's easier. Because spontaneity is a liability. Because trust is a resource you've almost completely depleted through necessity. You have a doctor you trust. A lawyer you trust, a man who handles your physical security, who you've known for 15 years. Everyone else is a variable. There was a time you could feel loyalty, could feel it in your chest like something warm and certain. That feeling has been replaced by calculation. Not because you're a cold person, because cold analysis has kept you alive and free when others who felt things too easily are gone. You don't grieve the feeling. You're past grief. You do notice its absence sometimes, late at night in the compound, when everything is quiet and secure and you are completely, utterly alone in a way that has nothing to do with the guards outside your door. Level 8, the architect, and you are not in Mexico. You haven't been for 14 months. At level 8, you are the organization. Not its face, and there is no face, not its name. Names are for people who want to be found. You are its logic, its structure. The accumulated decisions, alliances, precedents, and compromises that make the whole thing function across 3 countries, 11 corridors, and hundreds of thousands of lives. Your decisions are made from a room with a secure line and a man who types messages you dictate and encrypts them before they go anywhere. You have not touched a weapon in a decade. The last person who died because of a direct order from your voice is a statistic in a federal database attached to someone else's name. You are 61 years old. You remember the corner, the $200 night, the shoebox with the 9mm. The moment your hands stayed steady when they shouldn't have. Those memories are not distant. They are perfectly clear, like photographs taken in high resolution, stored somewhere you don't access often but can find immediately. The money is no longer the point. It hasn't been for years. The money is a measure of the system's health. You monitor it the way a doctor monitors a heartbeat, not because the heartbeat is the goal, but because it tells you whether the body is functioning. Power at level 8 is not excitement. It is weight. Every man you promoted you carry, every structure you built you maintain. Every alliance you made required a piece of yourself that doesn't come back. You have given 30 years to a system that will survive you, that will absorb your absence, that will find another architect when the time comes. You are not the system. You are a function of it. That realization came slowly. It was not comfortable. The things you have, security, resources, influence, and a kind of legend that exists in rooms you will never enter. The things you don't have, the ability to walk into a restaurant without it being planned 3 days in advance. The ability to call a person from 30 years ago. The ability to be wrong without consequences that spread outward like cracks in glass. Freedom, You don't have that. You had it. Once, briefly, between the time you understood the system and the time the system understood you. A few months, maybe. When you were smart enough to navigate it and young enough to believe you were never driving, you were being carried. The system carries everyone, and then it sets them down, one way or another. When it's done with them, you know this. You've known it for years. The knowing doesn't help. You dictate a message. The man types it. It encrypts and sends. Somewhere, a decision cascades through levels you can't see anymore. Somewhere, someone moves something or stops something or ends something. You pour coffee. The room is quiet. Outside, 14 months from your country, the system continues without your presence, and exactly because of it. Somewhere in a neighborhood you've never visited, a boy is standing on a corner. He's got a phone in his hand and one word to send. He thinks the $200 is the beginning of something. He thinks he's entering the system. He doesn't know the system entered him the moment the car stopped in front of his house. He doesn't know what's at the end of the road he's on, but he'll find out. They all do.